Hey, what's up? It's Ryan Stewman, President and CEO of Break Free Academy. And listen, closing sales is not that hard if you know what you're doing. This video is important because I'm going to teach you what it takes to close a sale. And it's actually really simple. Like one of my talents, actually my main talent, the thing that's made me as successful as I am, is I take big, complex, complicated things and I make them really simple. And that's what this video is going to be all about, is to take a complex thing like closing a sale, which there's many variables, and I'm going to make it super simple, right? And so, listen, it boils down to two things. If you want to close sales, it only takes two things. And a lot of times people like you, you're looking at this video and you're probably above average intelligence. A lot of people that watch my videos, they're smart people, they're successful already, and so they're like, you know what? We're going to overcomplicate some things so that we can make, like smart people, they just tend to overcomplicate things. And I'm going to take it down to some simple stuff. But like I said, I know that smart people tend to overcomplicate simple things because they discredit simplicity. But here's what I know. Keeping it simple sells. Remember that. Keeping it simple sells. The second that you start to complicate things for your prospect is the second that your prospects can't make a decision because it's so complex and so complicated, they don't know what to decide on, so they just go into freeze mode. Right? So we don't want our prospects to go into freeze mode. We want them to go into decision mode. And it's two things that it takes in order to get your prospects to make a decision. Number one is empathy. Number two is confidence. So let's talk about that. How do you gain empathy with a prospect? You see, most people, they go through life and their wife doesn't listen to them, their husband doesn't listen to them, their boss doesn't listen to them, their employees don't listen to them, their kids don't listen to them, their friends don't listen to them, their people on social media don't listen to them. And so when you become the ears, not the voice of reason, but the ears of reason, and you actually listen to somebody, it changes the game, because when they're used to being ignored, they're used to being interrupted, and they're used to being insignificant in the eyes of the people that they're surrounded with, and all of a sudden you actually care about them, you listen, it changes the game. You see, my favorite phrase in sales is, he who speaks the least earns the most. You see, when you take any sales conversation and you transcribe it, if the salesperson out-talked the prospect, they lost the sale. If the prospect out-talked the salesperson closed the sale. And it's simple because that has to do with empathy. If you have spent all your time trying to talk them into buying from you, you're more likely to talk a person out of a sale as to talk them into a sale. You're more likely to listen to them and listen your way to a sale than actually talk your way into a sale. And I know that's a paradigm shift for a lot of salespeople. Like, you got to be like smooth talker and like a fast, you got to be like quick with the objection handling and everything else. But empathy is what closes sales. And empathy has nothing to do with talking. Empathy has everything to do with listening. Okay? So I want you to think about this. If you are in a sales conversation and someone is trying to tell you something and you interrupt them, you're going to lose that sale. If you're in a sales conversation and someone's trying to tell you something and you listen to them and you act like you care, guess what? Then they feel like you understand their situation, which is what empathy is. Sympathy is like, oh, I feel sorry for your little ass, right? Empathy is like, oh, I understand your situation. We're trying to gain empathy with the prospects that we talk to on a regular basis. The only way to do that is by asking questions and listening. You're given two ears and one mouth for a reason. You should listen twice as much as you speak. This goes for not just sales, but for listening to your wife or your husband, listening to your kids, right? Listening to your boss, listening to your employees. You should listen twice as much as you speak. Because if you're making noise, which, listen, I get it. Silence is a salesperson's worst enemy. Anytime we get on a sales call and there's silence, anytime we get on a sales call and we're not the one making all the noise, like we get this like insecurity, inferiority complex. I don't know what the hell the deal is with us in the sales community, but that's what happens. But those of us that listen better than we talk actually make the most money. See, we're told from our sales managers and stuff, it's like, hey, the better talker you are, the more money you're going to make in sales, which is bullshit, because the better listener you are, the more money you're going to make in sales. And so it only takes two things, empathy and confidence. And so number one, the only way to gain empathy is to listen to people. So how do you get people to talk? You ask them questions. Instead of making closing statements like every other sales trainer out there in the business is trying to tell you to do. You got to close people, you got to make statements, you got to call them to action, you got to pre-close them. You don't have to do any of that. Ask questions. Act like you give a damn. Act like you care. And don't let me take that all back. Don't act like you care. Don't act like you give a damn. Actually give a damn. Actually care. That's what empathy is, actually caring for the person that has a problem. See, if people show up on a sales conversation with you, they have a problem. And it's our job as a sales professional to solve that problem and help in that problem, because with every problem there's pain. And so it's our job to end that pain and solve that problem, because when we end that pain and solve that problem with a solution, what happens is they gain pleasure. See, we have to sell based on the pain, which we have to listen to understand what that pain is, but we close based on solving the problem, which is pleasure. So listen more than you talk. The second thing is confidence. You got to have confidence, right? When someone hits you up and they tell you their problem, you have to confidently diagnose them and tell them that whatever it is that you sell will solve that problem. First, empathy. You have to listen, ask questions, and understand what their problem is. Second, confidence. You have to, after you've listened, you understand they're like, wow, this guy really gets it. Wow, he's listened a lot. Wow, he's empathetic towards my situation. Then you go in for the confident close. Listen, I understand your situation, sir. I've been there. I've had clients that have been there. We've all been there. Here's what I can provide for you that will solve XYZ problem that you're experiencing in life. And I have the experience, the know-how, and the understanding to make that happen for you. You see, that's the only two things you need. People think you need a fancy script. People think you need a video sales letter. People think you need a fancy sales funnel. People think you need all this fancy, complicated stuff, when really sales is simple. Sales is about keeping it simple sales. That's the truth. I know, the more complicated and the more complex you make these things, the more they have to decide, the more they have to think about, the more they have to comprehend, and they won't make a decision. And the worst thing to happen to a salesperson is to face a prospect with indecision. The worst thing to happen to a salesperson is overcomplicate something that's super simple, and now all of a sudden the prospect goes, well, I don't know, we're going to have to think about it. Thinking about it is like torture to us. So you want to listen to their problem by asking them questions. You want to agree with them. Oh man, I understand. Oh man, it's terrible. Oh man, you want to get that empathy with them to where they're like, this person gets it. And then you want to confidently diagnose them. It doesn't have to be complicated to close sales. You see, that's the talent that I have, taking big complex things and making them real simple. And a lot of people that are smart, like the people that watch these videos, will discredit my stuff because they'll be like, oh, you know what? It can't be that easy, but it is. Two things, empathy and confidence, closes sales. And by the way, sales is probably not a problem for you. You're probably already good at sales. And whether you're the greatest salesperson in the world or not, if you are the greatest person in sales, then guess what? If you don't have any leads to sell to, then it doesn't matter. You'll still be broke. And on the flip side, you can be the worst salesperson in the world, and as long as you have an abundant source of leads, you can still make a whole bunch of money. I recommend going over to Phonesites.com, where it is a software designed for tech challenge salespeople, just like yourself and I. I'm tech challenged as well. And you can create a sales funnel, which is a website that captures your prospects' data with inbound leads, so that you can actually call people who are interested in buying what you sell. And you don't have to learn HTML, you don't have to learn how to code or any of that stuff. Matter of fact, you can create a website from your mobile device, whether it be an Android, an iPhone, an iPad, or any of that stuff, within less than 5 minutes. So like literally, you could be sitting on the toilet, and while you're sitting on the toilet, instead of scrolling Facebook, you can create a website that captures your prospects' information, because you've got a strong offer and you can make money from closing those people. And I want you to go over to Phonesites.com right now, sign up for that program, join it, start your first sales funnel, collect people's information, collect data, and start collecting leads, so that you've got people that are actually interested in what you want to sell that you can close them. But here's the thing. When they fill out their information, don't get on the phone with them and talk your way out of a sale. Listen to your way into the sale and confidently diagnose their problem with your product as a solution. And by the way, while you're here, there's a whole bunch of other videos on here about how you can close sales, make more money, change your mindset and everything else. Make sure you check those out. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. We'll see you on the next video.